Well, I've been told point blank, Professor Truth, if you're a Christian, you'll vote for the Christian Party, and that's the Republican Party. And I said, well, if they're the Christian Party, I'd vote Republican Party. I don't care what side the Christian Party lands on. As long as they're Christian and follow the Lord, I'll vote for that party.
The Democrats aren't Christians?
Well, I'm just telling you what I was told. I need to research it like everyone else.
Remember all the times that they doubted me, and I knew that I would last, and they proud of me. I was down bad, needed you to help me. Had to get it on my own, every little thing. Chasing bands in my pockets real healthy.
With our stories.
In our voices.
With our solution.
I'm gonna grind like this year was my last year.
Welcome, everyone, to the Black Adventist Network. Today, we're talking about a very hot subject right now. We're in the midst of an election season, and Christians all over are wondering what is our place in politics. So today, we're going to talk about, is Jesus a Republican?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Wow. That's straight to the point, Professor Truth.
Yeah. Well, here's my take on, is Jesus a Republican? I say Jesus is not Republican. I say Jesus is not Democrat. I say Jesus is independent, which is what more of you need to be, really, independent. And the reason why I say that is because I think if Jesus was on earth, he'd be focusing on the issues that plague our society. He would not be focused on party loyalty, which some of you need to really reconsider. But we have issues in this nation that are not addressed by either political party. Before the pandemic, we had 140 million people who were poor and low income. Yet I don't hear any debate about the poor and the issues that are plaguing the poor, from housing to unemployment to health to food. That's what Jesus would focus on. Matter of fact, Jesus said out of his own mouth in Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. And he hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted and to preach deliverance to the captives.
That's what the Democrats are all about. They feed the poor. They feed the poor. They're with extending food stamps, and Medicaid, things that would help those that are not as fortunate, help those that has suffered in life, and as people that have been oppressed, like Black folks, from slavery to the Southern deal to Reconstruction, et cetera. So no, I mean, not all.
So what are you saying, Professor Truth? Because
I'm not saying all Black folks. I'm just saying
on one hand, you said Jesus is a Republican, and now you're saying all these good things that are Democrat.
Listen. Well, here.
Was he a Democrat or Republican?
I'll bring out the text. Republicans support no abortions. Jesus said, "I knew you. I formed you. You were formed. I knew you before you were formed in the womb." So. That's not Democrats. That's Republicans.
Okay, but the same people who say that also believe in the death penalty. So I don't know where you figure that Jesus only cares about the unborn, but not those who are alive, and we're going to hang them and execute them. Get your story straight.
Well, hold on. Wait a minute now. Let me pause on that. So the death penalty. So you're saying that is biblical? We shouldn't kill murderers and all those stuff.
I'm looking at behind you. Are you looking at the 10 Commandments behind you that says "Thou shalt not kill"? I mean, it's right there.
Here,
actually, if you look at the actual term is "Thou shalt not murder."
It's like right there on your right, or what is that? Your left.
Yeah.
Right over your head, man.
Yeah.
Not kill.
But thou shalt not kill. Didn't give
Y'all
an
are
age.
killing me. That's what you're doing. Y'all are killing me.
Yeah, it didn't give an age in the commandment. It didn't say thou shalt not kill if you are -0. But
Right.
if you're 50 plus, yeah.
So you're saying put them in jail till they die?
Listen, I'm not prepared to argue the issue about death penalty. I'm just trying to address the issue of Jesus is Republican.
Well, I have something that's kind of like in between, I guess, what you and Professor Truth are saying. I think about John 3:17. Says, "For God sent not the Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world should be saved through him." Mm. Jesus was our example of how to live on earth, right? And he came for all people, all people. He was not here for a political party. And if he was in modern times, he would not be here picking a party, like picking a team. So I don't think he would be Republican. I don't think he'll be Democrat. And I don't think he'll be independent. I don't think Jesus would have blind allegiance to a party, right? Are we saying that everything that they believe in aligns with our principles and moral standing? Even Ellen G. White writes about this in Spirit of Prophecy Council on Church and State. She talks about how irresponsible it is to think one party is perfect and has everything that's true, right? Can you see Jesus saying, yes, it's every man for himself. Pull yourself up and don't depend on others. Or can you see him saying, don't judge me and I do what I want and
live my truth.
Yeah, I'm speaking my truth. You know, I mean, your truth, God's truth. I mean, whose truth is it? Can you see him doing all of that? I can't.
I mean, I agree with you. You know, when he has loyalty to one, and it's just the Father, so he's only here to do the Father's will. We remember when he was here and he said, when he asked for the coin and he says, whose face is on the coin? Give unto Caesar what's Caesar and give unto God what's God's. He's only focused on what his mission is, and is to save others and to bring love into the world. In terms of party affiliation, I don't think he would choose a side.
So then we got a big problem.
Well, yeah, there's a big problem, because here's what I would take issue with. Let me take issue with what Dr. Anthony said about Jesus. Would it be Democrat, Republican, or independent? If you say that, then you're trying to say that Jesus wouldn't vote.
No, he'll have his own party.
Well, then.
See, that's where I don't know what he would do at that point.
Then we got a big problem. I don't know about the voting part, but listen. I remember, because I still go to church. Well, technically I don't go to church. No one's really going to church right now, in the building anyways. But I remember going to church, sitting there. And I don't know what the situation was and what the topic was at the time, but I end up finding out that a great portion of the church, a decent amount I should say, were Democrat. And another portion of the church was Republican. And I'm thinking to myself, these sets of individuals are listening to the same preacher, the same message, reading the same Bible, sitting in the same pews. But one is Republican and one is Democrat. Something's not adding up.
I mean, from the beginning of time, he gave us choice, right? So, I mean, they're choosing whichever party line they choose to go for. I mean, they could do that.
But you know what? I was even thinking earlier today when I thought about this topic, I said, I needed to find some research to back this up, because I know what I'm saying is the truth. I think when you think of, as Professor Truth just mentioned, about the people who sit in the pew, the same church, I think more white Christians are Republicans and Black Christians are Democrats, i.e. the problem.
Why is that though? Why? Mm-hmm. I maybe, okay. Hearing what Dr. Herman said, we are individually responsible for our own actions. In the end, we will have to give an account for ourselves at the end of time. We are accountable for our own sins. But as we live here on earth, we can't say we live for ourselves. We cannot exclude others and create inequities unfairness. And I think maybe that's why with Black folks, we notice that there are all these inequities and unfairness and social injustice. And we talk about that from some of our previous videos. And so I think maybe that's why we, most of the Christians who are Black are going with being a Democrat, are going in that route. We also have to look at, we can't condone on the other side, if you're looking at the other party, you can't condone every behavior and not reprimand improper thoughts and behaviors based on our biblical principles. If your truth is based on God's truth and his instructions, and you are bringing your Christ-like lens, then that is most appropriate, right? We should be looking at the world with Christ-like lens, biblical lens, not on two-party decisions. That's why I said Jesus would have his own party. It would be the protect all party. That's what it would be.
Ooh, she has a name for the party.
Well, here's what I've been told, and I hear what you're saying, Dr.
The Moral Movement Party.
I think everybody should take a look at each side and think to themselves, are the policies lining up with what Christ has said on each side, the Democratic side and the Republican side, and study the word and draw the conclusion of what the Lord is showing them in the word. I said initially that Jesus was Republican based on the simple fact that I have been told point blank,
Professor Truth, if you're a Christian, you'll vote for the Christian party, and that's the Republican Party. And I said, well, if they're the Christian party, I'd vote Republican Party. I don't care what side the Christian party lands on. As long as they're Christian and follow the Lord, I'll vote for that party.
The Democrats aren't Christians?
Well, I'm just telling you what I was told. I need to research it like everyone else. But there is a belief out there that the Republican Party is the Christian party. So what I need to do, and just like I'm encouraging everyone out there to do, is grab all the policies of the Republican Party and line them up with what Christ says. Grab all the policies of the Democratic Party, line them up to what Christ says, and see which one is the Christian party, if any of them are.
Interesting. Yeah.
I like what you're saying, but we all have our soapbox, right? And so what mine has to do with the issue of voting. Because going back to what OJ the Millennial and Dr. Antoinette said at the beginning of this show about Jesus not being Republican, Democrat, or independent, and I'm saying, well, then that means he wouldn't vote. And that is not true, because here is the thing that people forget. When people are trying to say that maybe Christians should be involved with worldly things like politics because Jesus wasn't involved with worldly things like politics. Well, here's the thing. Politics was different then. Leaders weren't elected. We had a system back then that was a theocracy and a monarchy. You were either a leader based on your gene pool, right? You were just born into it, or you were divinely appointed, or there had to be a coup, right? So there was the politics was different then. So if you think about it, back then you even had judges, right? Divinely appointed judges. But today, to be a judge, you have to be elected, right? So back then, divinely appointed leaders like David, but today they have to be elected. So just think how the world would be different if we had more Christians today in public service, more Christians today as judges, more Christians today in leadership. And when we talk about elected office, we don't have to think in terms of, those on the national stage, but locally, you could make a difference if, as a Christian, you were committed to public service. God used people like Ezra, Nehemiah, Daniel, and Joseph in public service. So just think the difference of how these people of God were used in politics.
And at the end of the day, though there's party lines, aren't we voting on individuals? So shouldn't we be matching the individuals as closely as possible to what their views are, what their vision is, for the roles that they're seeking to go into, as best as outlined biblically? Isn't that what we should be doing versus
Boom.
political
Boom.
lines?
That's it. Drop the mic. That's it. That's actually very good. Yeah, yeah, because yeah, that's actually good. I like
Oh my
that.
God.
I like that.
I end on that note. I ain't got nothing else.
But that aligns with what I said before, that we can't have this blind allegiance to a party. We have to look at if it whoever is running, do they align with our principles, our moral standing, or what's going on in our community? Are they supporting what's the needs of the community?
Yep.
I think Dr. Anthony and OJ the Millennium, even Dr. Herma, but on these last two comments, I think that is pinpoint accuracy there. You vote on that individual, no matter what party they're in. Blind allegiance is never good. You have a moral obligation from God. There's that great commandment: love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and etc. And love thy neighbor as ourselves. So we have an obligation. Matter of fact, these commandments that are behind me, 10 commandments, the first 4 commandments are man's obligation to God. The last 6 commandments is man's obligation to each other. So I think we should look at that each individual instead of the party, to see if that individual matches up with our moral beliefs, which comes from Christ.
Well, thank you all. It seems like everybody agreed with me that Jesus is independent. Thank you.
Because I'm going to be honest, be transparent. I voted for a Republican, I voted for a Democrat, and I voted for an independent over my life so far. I have.
What?
Yes, I have.
Tapes.
I can't be on the show anymore. I can't associate with such people.
I don't know her. I don't.
That-
What?
the
I
Bible
gave this
says-
big
the Bible
speech and
says
now.
a
Clearly,
double-minded
this will
man
not be a part of the
is
recording.
unstable in all his ways.
You just said vote for the person. I'm telling you, I have voted for.
Thank you for your moment of transparency.
I'm trying. Y'all are too much.
We have to pray for her. Pray.
Thank you for joining us for another interesting topic of discussion this week. Remember, as we approach the general elections in a few weeks, the choice is yours. You have the power, you have the vote to vote the right individual into power. Join us again when we bring to you Unban, another interesting topic of discussion.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.